Look, buddy, look what I've got.
Wow, that's a nice umbrella. I don't have something like that, but it's okay.
Well, since you really don't have anything, no love, no success, nothing, you know what? Here.
What? Yeah, you know, Jimmy, thank you, but you can have it back. I've got nothing.
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Dennis, the Buddymeister.
We have reviewed about 400 indie movies on the channel, and once a month we let all of our awesome patrons and YouTube members decide what we should watch next.
The latest poll was all about children's movies. The options were The Blue Umbrella, Elizabeth Ekadashi, and I Am Kalam. By this point, we have seen quite a few wonderful children's movies from India, so we made a playlist that you can check out here.
And the next movie poll is already up as well, and our supporters can choose between the 3 Talapati Vijay movies: Gilli, Kadaluku Mariadai, and Tuluda Manamum Tulum.
The Blue Umbrella is a 2005 Hindi-language comedy drama. It was the third film by Vishal Bharadwaj, who we already know from his dark and gritty Shakespeare trilogy that consists of Maqbool, Omkara and Haider. But he actually started his career as a film director with another children's movie, Makdi from 2002.
The Blue Umbrella, which has won the National Film Award for Best Children's Film, is based on the beloved novella of the same name by Ruskin Bond. And when I saw that the film will very likely win our poll, I decided to read the book before watching the movie adaptation. It's also just about 60 pages long and you can easily read it in about half an hour. But I'm always a bit hesitant to read a book before watching the movie. On one side, it's very interesting to compare the two, but on the other, you also can't help but compare them. And usually I want to experience and appreciate a film for its own merits. And honestly, and I wasn't expecting this, but in the end, I was a bit disappointed by the film. I mean, it's a sweet film and there are things that I really loved about it, but Ruskin Bond's book is just such a lovely and heartfelt little story, and I think in some regards the movie adaptation is really lacking. But we will come to that. What did you think about the movie? And also, what is The Blue Umbrella about?
Okay, story first, then I tell you what I think about the movie. So, the young girl Binya gets hold of a blue umbrella, and this umbrella is like the most precious thing to her. And everybody in the village wants it. One day it disappears, it's stolen, and all eyes are on the greedy shopkeeper Nandu, who had previously been obsessed with the umbrella. A short and crisp story for children. I liked the movie, it's fine, it has some really strong moments, especially in its second half and towards the end. But it's also kind of all over the place, narratively and stylistically, so it feels like it had the potential to be more, but ultimately it left me kind of unsatisfied.
I think my biggest gripe with the movie is that it gives a bit too much emphasis on the adult character of Nandu and too little on our protagonist Binya. The original story beautifully introduces us to Binya and how she spends her days, looking after the cows, her part in the family, and how she deals with the shopkeeper and what he's up to. The movie, on the other side, starts with a song sequence that already incorporates many different children and the village overall.
Well, I haven't read Bond's novella, so I don't have the comparison, but I actually felt the same about Binya. It's more or less Nandu's movie. All Binya does is look happy or sad. I just didn't get to know her.
Of course, the movie also made it clear how much Binya likes her new umbrella, but she nonetheless stays this non-entity throughout the movie. The young actress Shreya Sharma has only acted in this, and she certainly has a very memorable, doll-like face. But the movie doesn't give her enough to do and really make the story her own. And like you said, it's much more the story of the shopkeeper Nandu, and that was kind of a pity for me. But it also has its own charms. Pankaj Kapoor is really quite peculiar and wonderful in the role, and I especially love the whole segment in which he finally has an umbrella of his own and how he's enjoying the spotlight.
He's really, really great. I loved how he plays Nandu's downfall. The final 20 minutes or so are pretty dark. Nandu becomes this tragic, frail, and almost mentally ill person who's got nothing left. He's become an ostracized person.
For me, the most striking aspect about The Blue Umbrella is the gorgeous cinematography by Sachin K. Krishnan, as well as the beautiful locations it captures. Our protagonist Binya is a young girl from the mountains, and the landscapes are truly a sight to behold. But not just the landscapes, also just the way in which the camera transports us to this small village, its people and their daily lives. There are a lot of fascinating camera angles, compositions, an enchanting interplay of light and shadows, gorgeous colors, and spellbinding tracking shots. It reminded me a little bit of the films by Terrence Malick. There's a certain impressionistic and loose style to the filmmaking and storytelling.
I agree. I mean, I wasn't reminded of Terrence Malick because I haven't seen that many of his movies, but the direction definitely cast some kind of spell on me.
Something that I found fascinating and enjoyable, but at the same time also a bit frustrating. And it might very well be or be enhanced by me reading the original book beforehand. Ruskin Bond gives a wonderful insight into this beautiful part of India, but there's also a great simplicity and precision to the book's story, how it unfolds and who these characters are. And I think the movie is looser and more erratic, and I'm not sure if I like it all that much. Maybe it gives more opportunity to let one's own fantasy run wild and take in the different scenes as they come at you, but I felt the book is a lot clearer and easier to grasp.
They definitely could have done a better job with introducing the surroundings and giving us a feel for the environment, the village, the people. I was actually asking myself at one point who all these people are that want the umbrella, and why should I care? I think the only place that works as a recognizable location that also evokes emotions is Nandu's shop. It's a beautiful setting that gives you a wonderful fairy tale vibe, especially when it's snowing.
Another thing that I wanted to mention is that Ruskin Bond based his story on two children that he really knew, Binya and her brother Biju. I felt it's a bit odd to make Binya's brother Biju this much older guy in the movie, because he's just 2 years older in the book and also just a child. In the movie, he's this wrestler, which adds another little element to this world, but I was surprised by it.
Yeah, this whole strong wrestling brother thing really just feels like they've put another typical children's story element into the mix. It's kind of fun, but it doesn't really add up to anything. And quite a few aspects of this movie felt like that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. In the end, they can hold it together, but it's a shaky structure.
The ending also didn't have the same impact for me as it had in the book. The message or themes of greed and generosity are still in place, of course, but again, not as on point as in the novella.
You know, it's so interesting. I haven't read the book, but it's almost like I can read between the lines of the movie and cherry pick what things are probably better and more profound in the book. It's the same with the ending of the movie. I can totally see what they're trying to say, but it's really only scratching the surface. And I'm actually not so sure if children really get what this movie is about.
You may be right, but it's nonetheless a very sweet film that definitely appeals to children in one way or the other, if only for the lovely music and songs.
Yeah, I agree. So, what would we say in German about The Blue Umbrella?
The Blue Umbrella ist ein netter Kinderfilm, der zwar einiges an Potenzial liegen lässt, aufgrund der bemerkenswerten Kamera von Sachin K. Krishnan und der starken Leistung von Pankaj Kapoor, aber im Gedächtnis bleibt. I give The Blue Umbrella 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.9, but I don't do that.
For me, it's 6 out of 10. It's more like 6.4, but I don't do that either. As you know, Pankaj Kapoor played Pyarelal, Mahatma Gandhi's assistant in Richard Attenborough's Gandhi. But did you know that he also dubbed Ben Kingsley in the Hindi version of Gandhi?
Didn't know that. Very interesting. So, what are your thoughts about The Blue Umbrella? Leave a comment. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and also on Patreon, simply at The Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up on Twitter at The Buddymeister.
And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like.
And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.